Before I jump into the details, I want to give you guys a couple of interesting facts. Number one, this is in a small town that has a population of 3,200. 1,600 were summoned for jury duty. A handful stated that they knew her. The other handful stated, I can't put aside my biases. Finally, they were able to dwindle it down to 16 jurors, 12 and 4 alternates. And they're being sequestered. In fact, yesterday afternoon, they were advised to go home, pack a bag, get their affairs in order. Do not look at emails, news, cell phones, nothing. Because they're going to be sequestered for the entirety of the trial. That could take up to 3 weeks. Now let's talk about the details. She is being charged with unaliving her daughter and lying to police multiple times. While the death penalty is not on the table, life without parole is. In February of 2020, the baby, Evelyn's grandfather, calls police and states that she's missing and that he has not seen his granddaughter since December of 2019. They automatically start, creating Amber Alerts. And while they're looking for her, her mother tells investigators multiple different stories. First one, she tells investigators that baby Evelyn was with her father, Ethan Perry. She then tells investigators, actually, she's with my mother, Angela Boswell, and she is refusing to return her to me. She then changes it. She said Angela, the grandmother, gave Evelyn to an unnamed person, and Evelyn was safe and would have a better life with that person. The search lasted about 17 days and ended in early March when, unfortunately, her remains were found inside a shed on her family's property. Now, at the time, she was 18 years old. She is currently 24, as it's been 5 years. She is being charged with 19 charges, specifically including felony and aggravated child. So I will keep you guys updated. As I stated, opening statements are happening right now. Prosecution's opening statements. Now, according to the prosecutor, Evelyn was healthy. She would have been 6 years old today. And the last time she was seen alive was December 6th of 2019, a few weeks after her first birthday. Now, there are witnesses that were accustomed to seeing Evelyn all the time. They started noticing that, well, they hadn't seen her. They started asking Megan questions, and she would give them different stories like, oh, she's with, her dad. Oh, she's with my mom, yada, yada. And they trusted her. They trusted that the stories that she was telling them was in fact true. Christmas rolls around. New Year's rolls around. No one has seen Evelyn. January, 31 days, no Evelyn, nothing. So now no one has seen Evelyn since December, okay? She wasn't there for Christmas, wasn't there for New Year's. Megan continues to make up lies. Now, at this point, February, her family is fed up. And her father goes to her and practically tells her, if you can't tell me where Evelyn is, I'm calling police. I need to know where she's at. Now, during this time where Evelyn is missing, that no one is seeing her, she's not showing up to Evelyn's doctor's appointments and calling back and saying, oh my God, at the pediatrician, she forgot the appointment. And again, trying to say different stories that she was with the dad, etc. When finally in February, the grandfather says, I'm calling the police. He reported her missing. All hands on deck. They start searching for her. Keep in mind, this entire time from December to February, she never reported her missing. The biggest believable story that she gave the police and the family was that Evelyn was with her dad, Ethan Perry. Now, what's interesting is that Ethan Perry found out that he's actually not the biological father of Evelyn, and that he too was lied. When she tells them, oh, he's with the dad, they were like, oh, okay, well, finally, he's stepping up to be a dad. And at first, it was, oh, we're having alternate weeks with Evelyn. But again, nobody's seeing Evelyn. Then, All of a sudden, well, I don't have Evelyn because he took me to court and he took custody from me. He got emergency custody. What she did not take into account is that Ethan Perry was in the Army and he lived in the barracks. And if you know anything about the Army and you're living in the barracks, ain't no toddler going to be in there. It's not allowed. Well, because of her lying, guess what happened? The Army got involved and they started investigating Ethan. They started investigating him, wondering where the daughter was. He practically wasn't able to work. Like, they took him off his assignments, etc., to do a full-blown investigation. He then tells them, I haven't even seen her. I went in December to see my family, and when I asked about Evelyn, she said Evelyn has the flu. I didn't get to see Evelyn when I was on leave, when I was with my parents. Time passes, and they find Evelyn. Evelyn was in a kitchen trash can from their home. She was hid in that trash can with a blanket. Her body's wrapped in a blanket. Food on her, all of that. And the trash can was actually in a playhouse on her father's property. So this particular playhouse belonged to her. And she put that kitchen trash can in there. Evelyn was wrapped. Or allegedly, she was the one that put the baby in there. Her body was wrapped. Okay? In a blanket. The prosecution then says, during the time that Evelyn is missing, what do you think Megan is doing? Like, is she mourning her child? Is she too checking on the child? You know, where she's supposedly at? Because keep in mind, the child is gone. The entire time between the month of December and February, she got a new boyfriend who apparently had money. So she apparently thinking she's going to have a better life. She moves out of her double wide and moves in with that guy within a couple weeks. She starts taking trips. She goes to Margaritaville, Pigeon Forge, all these different places, while her daughter is in that trash can. Now, when her father calls the police and reports Evelyn missing, she starts blaming multiple people. Keep in mind, she went and said that Ethan Perry, the baby daddy, had her, or the supposed baby daddy. Then she blamed her mother, her own mother, who was also looking for the child, and stated that her mom had the child and would not give it back to her. So at this point, she is being charged with, I think it's like over 16 counts. Death penalty is not on the table. So the jury will not be deciding the penalty. They just will be deciding on 16 charges, including first degree. So the defense is stating that they disagree with all of the charges. They said that how can she be charged with all of this? How can we not be realistic? And the prosecution cannot even prove that there is a possibility that this actually happened on accident. She was 18 years old at the time. He said, what if Megan or Megan's boyfriend at the time rolled over on the baby and she was too scared to call 911? And he said, listen, I have never experienced any type of trauma. I have had a good life, but not everyone was raised the same way as me. I would have called 911. She was probably terrified of calling 911. He also talks about the fact that everybody wants to talk about the baby's grandfather, Megan's father, as if he was this amazing guy. And he was like, during this trial, you're going to learn about her history, about how she was raised, and about the fact that she had that little girl at 18 years old while she was in foster care. Let's see what else. He also talks about that we're going to learn how she was raised with, no privilege. She had this older boyfriend. She was 18 years old, and this older boyfriend, when he finds out she's pregnant, tells her, I don't want anything to do with this. Forget about it. Because he was scared that he would be charged if they found out she was pregnant. The indictment shows multiple charges, and he's saying that she can't be found guilty on every single charge because charges of 7 through 17 are in reference to false reporting. It says that she hindered or obstructed an officer in preventing a crime. He said that would be impossible because the crime had already been committed. So there was no preventing or obstructing. But they're probably talking about obstructing because she lied so much. She absolutely lied to police. He said that. She was an 18-year-old that was scared. She was terrified of getting in trouble. And then he goes, I don't want to be rude or anything, but there's nothing the jury can do anything for baby Evelyn. She's gone. But however, your job is to decide if her mother's actions were criminal. He's not asking for them to find her innocent of anything. Their job is to determine beyond a reasonable doubt if what she did was intentional. Now, he also adds that the entire investigation only focused on her. They didn't really focus too much on the boyfriend, Hunter Woods. And that he found it interesting that after police arrived to her father's property and they had a full warrant, they searched all of the premises, they even had dogs. Days after that search happened, her father had an epiphany and said, maybe what if she's in the playhouse? And sure enough, that's where she was, in the playhouse in a trash can. He also said that disposing the way the baby was disposed is unexcusable. False to report was unexcusable. And that she didn't report it. That is true. She should have reported it. But unfortunately, she did not at the time because she was terrified. She was scared. For that reason, he kind of threw a lot of assumptions out there. And I think his entire purpose, in my opinion, was to create reasonable doubt. Did somebody roll over on the baby while she was sleeping? Was the baby still alive when she was in that trash? So many. Was the grandfather involved, etc. So that is the defense. The end of day 1 and beginning of day 2 was detective or special agent of the TBI, Brian Fraley. Now, when they started interviewing him, they did kind of break things down when it comes to the law. So her father, Megan's father, called the police and reported her missing. And at this point, DCS was contacted. And he states that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is the only state agency that can issue an Amber Alert. And that can only be produced when the team has essentially gone through a checklist to validate details to confirm that they can actually move forward. Highest priority in the TBI is always going to be an Amber Alert. They have a specific team in Nashville, in Tennessee, that handles all of these Amber Alerts. And then the FBI was also involved, and they have specific agents that cover abduction cases. And they say all of this really to establish that a lot of people were involved in trying to find baby Evelyn. About 40 or so investigators were attached to this case. They talk about the fact that Megan Boswell provided multiple statements, multiple different versions and stories that they would work on. So, she initially said, my baby is with her father and he doesn't want to give him back. Well, there they go to interview the baby's father, which turned out to be that was not the baby's father, who was actually in the Army, guys. So when all this investigation went down, he was in the barracks. The Army got involved in everything. Okay. Then she started stating, my boyfriend's mom is taking care of him. My mom is, but she gave her to somebody else. Finally, at this point, they were done. It's been 5 days of just lies upon lies. And they were frustrated because they really did track down every single statement she gave. He then states that on March 6th, 18 days after that initial call to report her missing, everybody was exhausted. They were literally working around the clock, searching for baby Evelyn, going through every area. I mean, they show videos where she's saying, it could be at this person's house and they have a lake, so maybe it's there. I mean, the amount of search that was conducted for this baby is really what the prosecution wanted to touch on. That she knew where the baby was this entire time, allegedly. However, these agents are exhausted. So on March 6th, as I said, I believe it's 18 days after the initial call, he states that they decided to take a pause. They were like, guys, everybody just needs to go home. Go and get some rest. Like at this point, they're running on 20 hours. So he sends his team home, and there's only a couple of people left. At that point, they receive a call from her father. And the call is really stating, hey, I saw her car backed up, against this dollhouse at my dad's property. So Megan's grandfather, Evelyn's great-grandfather. I remember a day where I saw her backed up, and apparently she was loading stuff into this dollhouse. Let me show you guys the dollhouse. This was the dollhouse that he's referring to. And they were like, okay, well, fine. If you have a hunch, anything. And he just said, look, I just remember that she dropped off a whole lot of stuff. They go there, and sure enough, you can see kind of a kitchen trash can right there. They're stating that is where baby Evelyn was found, wrapped in a blanket. Now, they showed a lot of additional details. We weren't privy to it while you're watching the live trial. That is literally reserved for the jurors. But he kind of went over all of that, what they found, the state of the baby, yada, yada. Now, continuing on with the agents, at that point, the defense comes and asks 3,279 questions. He asks about the different lies, essentially, or alleged lies that she said, and that pretty much what she stated in their interviews is that her boyfriend either was sleeping and rolled over her, and she tried to save the baby, and it was too late, and then she has no idea where he put the body. So they were kind of going back and forth. And the defense even wanted to add, like, well, when you got there, did you take the trash can out immediately? Did you do this? Did you do that? He asked them a lot of questions as if he would have contaminated that crime scene. And the agent was like, no, this is our process. This is what we do. And, we followed what is required. So that was pretty much the beginning of day 2, end of day 1.